Right, so in the previous video we have seen how to perform this version controlling with GitHub and how to push our repository to the GitHub and stuff like that. Now let's take a look at to the deployment, and yeah, this will be the last chapter of this Express.js course as well. Yeah, so in order to deploy our Express REST API, we are going to use this render platform. So render is a free service provider, and by using render we can deploy our RESTful APIs very quickly, and it will be completely free. And as the cloud provider, we are going to use MongoDB Atlas. So Atlas is the cloud MongoDB infrastructure, and it is also free. Yeah, so first let's start implementing this MongoDB cloud to our Express.js application, and then let's check whether the connection is established correctly or not. And once it was done correctly, we can consider the render deployments. Okay, so first let's go to the Mongo cloud, and you can simply create an account from their website, but currently I have account already created, so I will simply log in. Yeah, so once you are logged, yeah, it will be like this. And currently I have several projects that is created, and let's try to create a new project as well, and let's name it as maybe simple epic. Yeah, something like that. Simple epic, maybe Express.js, and let's create it and create the project. Yeah, now the project has been created. So under this project, let's create a database as well. So build a database, and yeah, I think I have to add my current IP as well, and let's build a database, and let's create a free one, and maybe let's give it a name. Let's say Express REST API cluster or something like that, and let's create it. And you have to pass these authentication stuffs as well. Right, now it is asking for the user level credentials. So here you have to provide a specific username and the relevant user password. For the simplicity, I will make this as root and root, but obviously this is not good practice, so never use root and root to your password, username and the password. So make sure to use your own username and strong password. So maybe try to auto generate a secure password by using this option, right? But for the simplicity and just for the demonstration purposes, I will simply use root and root, and I will create a user. Right, so root user has been created. Now I have to add the IP address as well. So currently I have added my IP address like this one, but I will make it as yeah, I will make it as 0.0.0.0, and the subnet mask is also 0. So this will make to access from anywhere to my application. Again, this is simply for the simplicity of the application, right? But in the production standards, you have to add your own IP address that is given by your deployment service provider, right? But for now, this IP will be okay. And let's click finish, and let's go to the database. And yeah, now the database has been created, so let's try to connect it. and go to the connect to the MongoDB compass, and let's copy this connection string, and let's go to the compass and paste it out over here, and make sure to replace the password. So in my case it is just simply root, and let's try to connect it. Yeah, now the connection has been successfully initialized, and once it was done, yeah, you can create databases here as well. But let's go to the our Node.js application, and let's try to connect to our database cloud instance. So here all you have to do is basically have a separation between database local and the database cloud. Therefore, let's go to the config.environment, and let's create a new database configuration entry called database cloud, and let's grab the connection string as maybe let's go to the connect and connect it to application, and this is the connection string that we required, and let's paste it over there, and the password will be root. Right, so now this is our database cloud, so let's try to use that cloud instead of local, and yeah, so database is connected. But this is not quite a good practice, because we need our local environment as well, because here is a production level separation as development and production. So in the production level we have to use this database cloud, and the development level we have to use this database local. So in order to have that separation, we can do something like this. So let's make it as process.env node environment. So if it is equal to the production level, basically we are going to use the cloud instance, otherwise we are going to use the local instance. So local, and yeah, so this connection string, or you can also change it as a database is connected. So let's say let's add a space over here and plus, and let's say if it is in the production level, right? So if it is in the production level, simply let's say or let's construct a new database log string. Oh, I mean, it will be additional stuff, right? Because we are using that in yeah, it won't be quite good, because we are using in this function, right? Error function. Yeah, so instead of that, let's try to wrap it like this. No, it's still getting these errors. Yeah, but yeah, let's use it in this way then. Okay, so database is connected. So we are under production mode. So database connected means we are connected to now at the local instance, in the cloud instance, right? But if I switch it back to the development level and restart the server, basically database is connected, but we are under the local instance, right? So that is the separation. But what we need is the production. Therefore, I will switch it back to the production level. And yeah, let's try to restart the server, and the connection is successfully established. But I think we need to initialize our test data. So I will go to my data manager, and yeah, so we have to import this test data to our backend, right? So how we can do that? Basically, we can open up our terminal. So I will open a new terminal, and let's go to the test folder. So yeah, so node data manager, and let's invoke the import argument, right? Yeah, for testing. Okay. Yeah, so do we have imported our collections correctly? So let me check. So database, browse collections. Okay, so we have our post, we have our users, but so database is initialized, but we don't have the data is yet, right? Okay, so what I can do is that instead of this dash dash, let me simply type import. Right, I think okay, we have the duplicate entry as well, but yeah, let's go to the post. So post 3, sample content 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think data has been entered correctly, but yeah, let's try to refresh it. Okay. But it says yeah, so the issue is actually in the data mapper. Actually it is pointing to the local instance, right? That is the error. So simply let's take this entire line, and under data manager let's replace it like this, right? Now let's try to invoke the import again. So instead of the local instance, now it will import the data to the cloud instance. So data is imported. Now let's try to refresh our collection. Yeah, now you can see that there are posts, and I think there won't be any users because in the data manager we haven't initialized any users yet. But yeah, everything is working as we intended. Now yeah, so now database part is done. Now we have to consider the deployment, right? So in order to deploy, we can use this render cloud application platform. So it is free, and it is very easy way to deploy our RESTful backends. So yeah, before moving to that, since we have done some changes in our source code, let's make a commit as well to our Git repository. So these are the files that have been changed. So I will make commit saying, let's say MongoDB cloud instance specified. So commit to main and push to origin. So now the changes is going to the GitHub. So if you go to the repository and refreshed it, you can see that MongoDB Cloud Instance specified commit is there. Right, so we have the latest updated repository over here, and let's try to deploy it in render. So here you have to create an account as well. So currently I have created an account, so I will simply log in to that account. And this is one of the APIs that have been deployed 2 months ago actually, and it is also written from Node.js, and you can see that the status is deployed succeeded. So we need this sort of an API for our Express REST API as well. So let's go to this new option and create a new web service, and here you may able to see all the necessary GitHub repositories that is available on your Git account, right? So this is the current namespace that I've been having, but here you can see that we have constructed a new organization that is called Simple Epic Express.js. So we have to specify that organization here as well, otherwise we won't be able to access this repository. So in order to do that, simply go to the configure account option, and here it will list down all the available repositories or organizations on your Git profile. So I will simply select this one because this is the organization that I require. So I will select that one, and I will make permission to all the repositories, and now we can see this repository as well, so which is Express REST API. So I can simply connect to it by pressing connect button, and it is asking for a name, so I will name this as same, which is Express REST API, and this is the region that is going to deploy your application. Yeah, I think branch and the root directory and the runtime, build command, everything remains same except the start command. So if you remember, our start command is npm run server, right? So we have to specify that run command here as well, because internally what render do is they will construct a cloud container with a Node.js image in order to deploy our application, right? So we have to explicitly say to them, okay, to use this command to run our application, right? Yeah, other stuffs will almost remain same, and I will choose this free tier. But if you are willing to purchase a premium packages, you can choose these other instance types as well. And once everything is done, simply create our web service. Yeah, so now our web service has been created. Oh no, it is still creating, so you can see this logs as well. So it will take some time because internally now the container is deploying and the environment is also initializing, and it will take some time. So meantime I will pause the video, and yeah, let's see what happens. Right, so after few minutes, here is the result. You can see that the logs has been now kind of updated. So the build is successful and it has been successfully deployed, and this is our server running port, which is 1000. So this is the default port that is given by the render, but I mean, if it is required later on, we can change that as well, but it doesn't quite useful in our context. But the most important part is our database is now connected, right? Which means the connection has been successfully initialized. But I think it's better to specify our environment variable as well, because currently we have pushed the entire config.env file with our repository, right? So this is not quite good practice, because if in some case this credentials has been if in some case the repository has been seen by someone else, the credentials, every credentials has been exposed, right? So it is not quite a good practice to push our config environment as well. But for now, in order to demonstration purposes this will be okay, but later on we have to maybe even set up the environment variable explicitly as well. So in order to set up that, simply go to the environments and click add environment variable, and just simply grab every environment variable like this, and you have to add everything like this. Okay, so the port I will use maybe 3000, and database local. So local one won't be quite useful here because you are running in the cloud instance, but yeah, just simply paste it in the cloud. So this is the cloud URL route to the MongoDB connection. And what else we have? Yeah, we have this JWT secret, and copy that out, and expire scene. And at last we have this cookie expire scene, which is 90, right? Yeah, now let's save the changes. So if it works correctly, this container will run again, but yeah, for now this will be okay, right? You can see that the container has been run again as well, right? So this is our first log and this is the second log, right? So I think our API is now up and running. You can see that deployment is live. So let's try to invoke our API, right? So this is the now URL base we have to use instead of localhost 3000. So let's copy that out and let's go to the Postman, and I will instantiate a new request. I will create a new request called, let's say maybe let's say get all post from render, let's see, from render, and this is the base. And I think this is not the correct one, so let's discard the changes and reopen it, and this is the URL tail that we want, and get it, and let's simply send. Okay, so our API works, but first we have to specify our authentication credentials as well, right? Therefore I will create a new request by saying user login from render, and we have to use this one, but the base is this one, and it is post, and this is the object or the payload body, so it will be raw and JSON, and yeah, let's say something like this. Let's try to send it. Yeah, so it is say user is not found, which means it is working correctly as well. So then we need user sign up, right? So let's say use sign up from render, right? And this is the URL, but this will be, I think, sign up, right? And this is the body we require, so go to the body, raw, JSON, paste it out, and name is, let's say, Dhanushka, and email is dhanushka@gmail.com. The password, I think this will be okay, right? And it will be a post request, and let's try to sign up. It will take some time because it is now on the hosted in the cloud, right? But yeah, it is quite fast. So yeah, we have successfully created the user, and this is the token. So internally what happened is that this render will communicate with this database as well, So if you go to the users section, you can see that this is our user now, right? So cloud instance is working correctly. And yeah, then we can use this token as the authentication bearer for our get all post, right? So headers, let's add this authentication header, which is authorization, and bearer of this token, and let's send it. Alright, yeah, so this is the data that we wanted ago, right, before. So we have successfully retrieved it, and the authentication credentials has been passed. So in case if you specify a wrong authentication header, so let's say instead of EY, let's add SD or something like that. So this is a wrong authentication header. So if you send it, now it won't be retrieving those details for you. But if you specify a correct credentials with the correct API and send it, now it is giving all the details for you. Likewise, you can check other APIs as well, and they will work correctly as it is intended, because now our database connection has been successfully constructed, and the cloud instances are running correctly, and the database is also up and running. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. So that's how we perform the production level deployments. Yeah, so we have seen how to set up that database cloud instance in MongoDB Atlas. So this is our database instance. So as I mentioned before, don't use this user, because it is now root user which is having the password of root. So make sure to remove that and create your own user with your own password, and replace the necessary credentials here as well, and make a new git commit as it is. And yeah, once it is done, make sure you have to change this network access IP based on your host or based on your cloud host provider. So render, I think they will provide a specific IP list as well, so you may have to point it out those IPs here in order to allow access render to your cloud instance. And the third and the last change that you need to do is whatever the changes that you are going to do in your config environment, make sure to specify this is those stuff here as well, right? So most probably your database cloud instance may be different, so your maybe JWT secret will be different, so make sure to change those stuffs as well. And in the production standard, we are not going to use this config.env, so you can simply remove that as well, right? So for now I will keep this as here, because then you can refer what is mentioned in our repository as well. But in the production level, make sure to remove this config environment as in your repository. But by default, render will point at these environment variables in the necessary places afterwards, right? So it won't be any problem, and that's how the production standards are following. But anyway, what I wanted to showcase you how to do the deployment in the render, and how to construct the database cloud instance as well, and how to connect these GitHub and render and MongoDB correctly, right? So we have done it successfully. And yeah, so this will be the last episode of our Express.js complete course. And yeah, in future, if you need any other tutorials related to Express or Node or any other language or any other framework, please let me know as well. And yeah, so thank you for staying with the course, and wish you luck, and see you again.